of a stampede. So we will bring you more on that as we get it. But let's cross now back to those peace talks that are taking place in Cairo and to our reporter Abdelbassir Hassan. Thank you very much for joining us. What is the latest that you're hearing on those talks that are taking place?
We have got from the very last hour that a Hamas delegation has already arrived in Cairo, like an hour before, led by Hamas' second political man, Al-Hayya, and there is no more information from Hamas side, at least what are they going to do in Cairo. Therefore, there were quotes from sources in Cairo close to such circles, affirming that there could be, like this time, a more closer approach towards reaching a framework for a deal between Israel and Hamas. What remains is like to be the modalities or the final touches, according to sources in Egypt. We have also learned today that delegations or representatives from the United States, Qatar, are already in Cairo for the same purpose, while we have learned that Israel should have sent a delegation, but so far from Cairo at least we haven't got any confirmation that the Israeli delegation is in Cairo already. However, there are hopes this time that there will be a breakthrough, especially after the incidents of the last 3 days at the war, which left a huge pressure on the sides to reach an agreement soon. We are like 10 days before the month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, and there is a huge pressure from all sides, all players and all mediators to reach an agreement or a deal before the start of the holy month of Ramadan, in order to avoid further complicated escalations, as described by the Egyptian foreign minister in the latest Antalya diplomacy forum 2 days before. He said we have to reach an agreement before Ramadan to avoid further complications. What's offered on the table, as per U.S. sources to Reuters over the last few hours, is a deal of 6 weeks, the details of which is not clear yet, but we have learned that Israel, as per the U.S. official who was quoted, is more or less accepting that deal or that offer, and as he said, the onus is right now in Hamas' hands, while we have learned from sources in the other side, in Hamas' hands, they say there should be a full withdrawal from northern Gaza and a return of the those who left that part of the strip to their homes in northern Gaza, while we have also learned from Israeli sources that although there were like an acceptance from the Israel to come to Cairo for talks, but sources in Israel were quoted as saying that they will not send a delegation unless they learn how many hostages exactly are in Hamas' hands and what's the number expected to be released from Hamas in Israeli prisons. Therefore, it's rising hopes that Cairo talks will be decisive or a major step towards reaching a deal, at least before the coming few days, especially with the approach of Ramadan, as bear the at least the willing of all mediators and those watching the situation now in Gaza.
Yes, President Biden has also said that he is hopeful of that ceasefire starting in time for Ramadan. From what you have said, it is obviously very complicated about how these talks go about, but we should remind our viewers that they're not direct talks between the two parties. There are a lot of mediators involved in this, aren't there?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that there are a lot of mediators involved in these talks. They are not direct talks between Hamas and Israel.
Unfortunately, those are so much pressure practiced by the United States. Over the last very few weeks, we have got many shuttle visits to the Middle East by different types of U.S. officials. We have CIA director, we have Biden's special envoy or representative. We had the U.S. Secretary of State coming to the region more than once, and we have been seeing a very deep involvement by Qatar and Egypt, but still no one knows exactly what is the complications is there. The Israelis, as per their statements from at least Benjamin Netanyahu, they would like to have no full or complete ceasefire at this stage. They would like to have a truce, while Hamas was keen on having a ceasefire, complete ceasefire, and a movement towards after the day of the end of the truce. Therefore, we have to wait and see what's going on, because over the last very few weeks we have been getting so many meetings in Qatar, in Cairo, in Paris, and in different capitals, but we haven't made there is no breakthrough by any means. We have to wait unless this new round would be like the past ones, unless there is more pressure and more flexibility from both sides.
BBC Arabic reporter Abdelbassir Hassan in Cairo, thank you very much for the latest on those talks that are taking place there today.